Or I should say, good morning still, possibly. I'm Gloria Nelson with TUG, and as you settle in and get ready for the start of today's webinar, let me give a brief introduction for TUG, the usergroup.org, for both our current members and those of you who represent organizations that haven't yet joined our online community of Infor distribution software users. Now, we've all heard the phrase before that knowledge is power. And I can say with confidence that after today's presentation, you'll be waking up tomorrow with a little more of both. Today has been only one presentation in our robust series of TUG Connect's 365 content. TUG webinars, online forums, and member events facilitate the timely exchange of ideas and information to help you work smarter and with more confidence. That's a powerful combination. If you're currently a member, it pays to get even more involved. And if you're not, please visit our website to discover why 2,300 heads are better than one to help you be the best at what you do each day. Now, it is our pleasure to welcome everyone to the TUG Connect's 365 Facts Friday. Gary Kirstein and Ann Seagren join us today from Aktion with their wealth of knowledge. And I'm turning things over to you now, Gary.
Well, thank you, Gloria. Let me go ahead and share my screen here with the audience. And we've got a nice PowerPoint presentation here, so let's go ahead and kick that off. Okay, great. So today's topic, as Gloria announced, is Facts Friday Lunch and Learn on the ACH features, electronic banking, and really understanding the electronic payment process that has been built into Facts for quite some time here. We're lucky to have Ann Seagren on the line as well, and she will actually delve into the full-blown process of implementing the ACH features. So again, my name is Gary Kirstein. I am the Facts Practice Manager for Aktion Associates, 30 years experience with the product and quite a few installations here behind me. As I noted, I've got Ann Seagren. She is a senior application consultant with our organization. Again, endless experience in not only ACH capabilities, but the entire Facts product, and a very valuable application consultant, programmer analyst with our team. So today's agenda. What is ACH? We'll go ahead and spell that out for everyone. Why would you use ACH? Unfortunately, in today's environment, the COVID effects of a utilization on ACH. We will cover Facts compatibility, which is kind of exciting to know that the vast majority of our users have this feature available to them and simply need to be installed. As noted, Ann will do a demonstration. We'll have some concluding thoughts and definitely time for Q&A today. So what is ACH? Well, each and every one of you are probably involved in ACH today, and you may not have heard it defined with that acronym. ACH is perhaps a customer paying a service provider, okay? Perhaps a direct deposit, IRS transactions, whether it's a payment or a receipt from the IRS. Again, as noted, which we're going to concentrate on today, a business paying a supplier for products, but also moving money from one bank account to another. So ACH is a network, stands for Automated Clearinghouse, and it's a network of electronic payments and money transfers. Of note, it's important that it only applies to the US. It's for domestic transactions, financial transactions only. If it were international, we would use another vehicle, which we're about to talk about in a comparison mode. So ACH is managed. You'll hear us refer to it as NACHA, and that's the National Automated Clearinghouse Association. It's that's the association that is responsible for all the guidelines and security guidances provided in the ACH platform. It does connect banks together. So I mentioned a minute ago, electronic funds transfers. Electronic funds transfers are what you would use or could use in an international transaction or even domestic. But in EFTs, and you're going to see this in a minute, EFTs are different in that it doesn't connect the banks together. It will connect specific accounts on electronic funds transfers. ACHs are done in batch mode. So this was of interest to me. At the end of every business day, the banks will pass a significant number of transactions, which will supply some statistics here momentarily, but they do it in a batch environment. So there's a tallying and hold, and all transactions are passed at the end of the day. Last but not least, the burden is still on you. Sorry to inform you of this, but the burden's still on you certainly if you're paying vendors using this particular feature, you have to have money in that account. So funds are not verified. If you had insufficient funds, the transaction would still be undertaken. So certainly it's your responsibility to have the financial wherewithal in the account. I mentioned some differences between ACH and wire transfers. Wire transfers are instant. ACH may take a few business days. Fees are a lot less with ACH. And we'll talk about fees today as we wrap up our presentations. There can be some disputes if conditions are met. Unfortunately, with wire transfers, once they're done, they're done. So if you are contemplating wire transferring with international business or even domestic, be aware of the fact that once it's initiated, it's not easy to get your money back. You'll be needing to deal with whomever. ACH, no human intervention. So this is really again, we'll concentrate on some ROI features that we have here. And it can be both sending and requesting payments. Wire transfers are only sent, again, processed in real time versus batches. So certain security features built into the ACH function, as with wire transfers. But if you wondered about the difference, we should now have clarity in those areas. ACH goes through a 4-step process. There's an authorization process. Please note a few acronyms that we're covering here: the ODFIC and the ODFI and the RDFI. So again, it's bank-to-bank transactions that are being conducted here. Once you as a fax user submit them to the originating depository financial institution, then you're done at that point in time. The institutions will take over, and then the confirming bank account and routing information will be processed. And as noted earlier, there's no need for you to be involved in that transition. So why would you want to use ACH? Well, ironically, it's the fastest growing B2B payment type. Websites do have some ACH features built into them, but truth be told, behind the scenes, integrating with the ERP solutions, over 50 trillion with a T US dollars are moved annually. In 2018, 51.2 in transactions were moved, and that was a 9.5% increase over the previous year. So you can see that this has been evolving, again, a little dated with the 2018 statistic, but this has been evolving and growing over a series of years. And again, as I talk about fax compatibility, I'm excited to share that the majority of our installations have the compatibility. Not to be repetitive, 1 to 2 day business transactions. Administrative time is drastically reduced as compared to producing checks. Basically, you can do it as a debit and or credit. This particular webinar is not covering the inbound cash receiving, but fax does have inbound cash receiving ACH capabilities. And here's the truth be told, that processing it is with a lot lower fees, especially on the inbound. The fees that would be charged to the merchant. Okay, the fees are a lot less than credit cards, and again, administrative time a lot less than a check run. COVID effects. Well, we all know, and these webinars may have been conducted live in person at TUG conferences before, and fortunately, with the power of TUG, we've now moved to remote presentations because we have remote workforces. Everybody has become pretty comfortable with these processes. So having a remote workforce is part of today's business world, which would eliminate the manually functioning, the processing and handling of checks. So we have had instances at Aktion Associates where we've had remote users tied in, have to configure printers to be able to print checks. Somebody who goes into the office needs to go and get those checks. I always say, fold them, lick them, stick them, put them in the mail, get them out. It's just, obviously it's a much more difficult process than hitting the magical button. So on demand, as needed, you can process ACH as you need it, as frequent as you need it to process. Again, normally once a day though, where folks are rolling that up. Improving your banking relationship. Yes, there are fees for ACH with your bank, as we talked about, but the beauty is this is you using your banking institution in a greater capacity. And in my experience, the more you can use your banking institution, the better you are, maybe negotiating lines of credit, those type of things. And again, some statistical data, more current statistical data, 7.1% increase in Q1, B2B payment processing 11% volume increase over Q1 in 2020, and over 1 billion transactions that have been executed. Compatibility, here's the beauty. While you hear from me, at least my customers a lot of time, stay current with facts, stay current with facts, stay current with facts. Well, that is certainly a recommendation from our standpoint. ACH was introduced in the FACTS software at version 7.7. It was integrated fully with the bank reconciliation at 7.7.07. So what that means is that anybody who's running FACTS at this version or greater, 7.7.07, not only has the ACH capabilities, but they have integration into the bank reconciliation. And as noted here, the cash receipt side was also introduced in 7.7. Now be aware that there's some burden on you that Ann's going to cover here as we move into her piece of the presentation, but it will require that each individual bank account is tested for approvals prior to authorization. So Ann will cover cover the testing process, how that's set up within the software. And just a sidebar note, in our dealings with banking institutions, while we like to say this whole thing is standard, there may be some program and or file customizations that need to occur in your installation, depending upon the banking institution that you're working with. So just be aware of it, nothing significant. Usually we're FTPing, file transfer protocol, the file at the end of the day to the bank. Again, that's where some of the subtleties may come into play. Okay, with that being said, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Ann. She'll go into a demonstration here. Ann, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. And if you want to pick it up.
I'm going to just jump in and interject. We have a couple questions, Gary, that have populated. The first one is, how do we start the process of implementing ACH? Do we start with our bank, action, vendor willingness, or I'm going to interject and say, or all of the above?
Okay, well, great question. So I think all three go together in that you've made the decision that you're going to move into the ACH world from, and in this case, from a payable perspective. So certainly you're going to want to contact your banking institution and make sure they have the facilities and get definition as to what it is that they're going to require for this process. If you're an Aktion customer or your channel partner, doesn't matter. Contact them and let them know that you want to implement this process, and they'll walk through in a much more detailed steps that Ann's going to show. But last but not least, I think an announcement to your vendors. I know we do this at Aktion. We announce to our vendors that we are ACH ready. And the beauty of it is, I think your vendors will find that they'll enjoy that piece of information, because the payments are all handled electronically. So no more check, no more opening the envelope, no more having to go to the bank or scan it in. All that stuff is done. So I would say simultaneously, but please include your vendors, because I think they'll be excited with it.
And someone else populated another question, which is from the day that we start to the day that we go live, what is the time frame that you've experienced on average?
So let me turn that one to Ann. She's much more involved in the actual implementation than I am. Ann?
Okay, usually it depends on the bank. We have some back and forth between ourselves and the bank as far as them providing a record format. They're fairly standard. We do maybe have, like Gary referred to, we maybe have a little bit of programming to do to tie our output to the bank's request, but it can be done, it can be turned around quite rapidly. We can do it within 2 weeks' time, really, between the back and forth
Wonderful.
with the bank.
Wonderful. I'm going to step off camera now and let you go ahead with your demo. And just know that these questions that are populating are great. We appreciate them and keep them coming in. Thanks. And go ahead and take it away, Ann.
Okay. So what I have here is a FACTS 9.3 screen that many of you may be familiar with. The first portion of this is going to refer to the setup that needs to be done in order to initiate these electronic funds transfers. So if you go ahead and let's take a look at our bank file maintenance. And in your bank file, you have a tab that refers to electronic payments, AP electronic payments. So the first thing to check off here is, yes, you're going to use the electronic payment system. Next thing would be a password for EFT approval. So what this EFT approval is really the equivalent of signing the check. So do you want to have a password for somebody to be able to sign the checks? Probably. So you would put that there.
We're seeing your menu screen still, unless that's what I'm seeing. This is Gary. So you may want to. I didn't see the file maintenance, Ann.
Do you see it now?
Gary, you need to unmute. Sorry.
And if it's on a separate screen, you need to stop sharing this screen and share the other screen.
Okay, maybe here. Can you see it?
Yes.
Perfect.
Thank you. Okay, so like I was saying, if you have this flag checked, all it means is yes, you want to initiate the electronic payment system. Here you have a area where you put in a password, which is the equivalent of signing checks, or it gives you the ability to sign checks. This is your ACH entry class, and this will be provided by your bank. It's typically going to be CCD, which stands for corporate credit and debit transfer. Here, you're going to have a file direct. This is going to refer to the file that your payment records are going to be posted to once you release them. This file should be a shared file that only the people who are actually signing and sending checks have access to. Here you would set up your company ID with the bank. It's typically a DUNS or an EIN number. Next field down is for remittance advices. This is the from address that you want the remittance advices sent from. And then if you want somebody internally to receive these same remittance advices, you just can BCC them right there. Below the line here is just ACH non-static information. The system will increment batch numbers and payment numbers for you. So this is the initial setup right here with the bank. Once you have that done, and hopefully you can see my screen.
We're back on the main landing page.
Yeah.
So you'll share what screen you want to go to by selecting it.
Okay.
And thanks everyone for your patience. Anne has graciously agreed to present today, and she's in a learning curve, and we know that everyone's very friendly here, so don't worry about it, Anne.
Okay, you can see this now, right? My user code file maintenance.
Correct.
Okay, good. Okay, so user code file maintenance, the only thing you need to worry about here is, type that in. On security, the person or people who will be signing the checks need to have this approve AP electronic funds transfer checked right there. So that person has check signature capability, usually 1 or 2 people in the organization. Okay, and then the final thing in your setup would be to set up the individual vendors. So going into this EFT vendor file maintenance, this button here allows you to search any of your vendors. This button here allows you to search any vendors that have been set up for electronic funds transfer. So let's just take a look at this first one. And this consumer payments checkbox here allows you to specify, it's just a kind of file that's sent to the bank. So that can be checked on or off. This combined payments would be if you have multiple vendors with the same routing numbers or checking account numbers, you can combine payments.
Excuse me, Ann, you'll need to share that screen again. Seems when you go back to the menu, Ann,
Sorry.
That's okay.
Not quite sure how that's happening. And I have all these other screens open, so I have to figure out which one I'm on.
Mhm. No worries.
Hey, Ann, a suggestion for you when you share your screen, if you share your entire monitor instead of just one window at a time, it should be able to work better that way.
Okay, well, I don't see share the entire monitor, but.
Awesome. You're there, Ann.
Okay, I'll probably have to do it again then.
That's okay.
So, okay, we're on vendor 100. We have this combined payments flag, which indicates that possibly there's other vendors in the system that share the same account number and routing number. Over here is the default payment type. And fax allows for ACH transfers, wire transfers, or plain old checks. You could set this, you don't need to have every vendor set up here, but if you have a vendor who normally gets a paper check and you may want to wire transfer them or ACH them the funds at some times, then you just can have this set to check default. We'll keep it at ACH. And then wire transfer really is for recording payments made that have no interaction. The interaction with the bank is outside of fax, but it will record it within fax. Okay, remittance advice type. You've got printing, email, and fax. Typically, you're going to want to email your remittance advices to the vendor. Print is just to print them out and mail them, which kind of defeats the purpose, really. Email is what you're going to want, and fax if you're still using faxes. So email, if you have email selected here, then this is just the to email, who the recipient name is, and the subject that you want to go on the remittance advice. And then down below here is all the faxing information if you're faxing the remittance advice. Okay, so down at the bottom is where you put in the routing number for this vendor, the account number. You need to have at least one primary account, and then just a description, checking account, and you can put in the account type here, whether it's savings or checking. Okay, this is an important piece right here, this pre-note status. The system, fax will not allow you to send an ACH payment to a vendor unless this is set to approved. So when you first set it up, you'll have it at not sent. Going up into this pre-note button here, you specify your bank, and it will create a pre-notification. And that pre-notification will be created in the directory that you have specified. That is what's first sent to the bank and for approval. And then there's a lot of, usually some back and forth between, well, we really, we want this field over here. And there's always a little bit of shifting to be done. So this is where the back and forth between the vendor and the bank comes in. Once the bank has approved it, you would mark it as approved here. And at this point, this vendor is eligible to use the ACH functions. So that's the setup. That's the setup you need to go through in order to get this going. It looks like I lost my screen share again. Okay, so we're back here. So now what's going to happen? We've gotten this all set up and approved, and now we're going to go into individual payment selection. Are you with me there?
You'll need to share again.
Okay, so we are in individual payment selection. So this screen's probably familiar to most of you. So we are going to go ahead and I am going to select a vendor to pay here. And we'll just select this B100. And if I go ahead and say pay all, notice over here, it's picked up on the right, the default payment method, which is ACH. At this point, if I don't want to pay one of these ACH, I can change the payment type up here. And I can select check payment or wire payment. So you can do both. You can do both in the same batch. So we've selected all these. We're going to pay these, all these first ones for ACH, and the last one can just be a regular check. So I'm done here. And assuming I'm going to have to start my screen share again. Okay, so now we've selected the ACH payment. And I'm going to go into the bank and keep in mind at this point, you've already probably printed your machine checks. And now I go into the bank and I'm going to say, submit my ACH. So that's done. That is the equivalent of printing the checks, what I just did. So now we have the checks printed and we have them in a batch here. Somebody prompt me if I need to start my screen share again.
You do.
Oh, I think it's this one. Okay, it says EFT approval at the upper left.
Yes.
Okay, so at this point, you would have a list of all the checks, ACH payments you're making. Approving is the same as signing. So I would just go down this list and click on this approve button. If I don't want to pay it, I can reject it. But once I get my list of checks and I get them signed, I process the payments. So this process the payments creates a file within the directory that we named. Okay, payments have now been processed. So we now have this file sitting in this directory. The next step is to upload or FTP them to the bank. So they still really haven't been signed yet until the bank, we go into payment batch status, and we're waiting for the bank to approve this batch. So once the bank approves the batch, or not approves it, if the bank rejects it, rejecting it puts it back into submission. And we can make any adjustments we need to and re-upload it, or we can reject it from submission, which just puts it back into the open invoices. So at this point, the bank said, yeah, you're good, this check is good. So now we go ahead and accept it. This processing cannot be undone. This is the process that will send out remittance advices to your vendors. So we're going to go ahead and accept it. Remittance advices go out, and here they are. I'm not emailing, I'm just printing.
You'll want to share that screen, Ann.
Okay. Okay, remittance advices went out. I believe they're going to be here. Yes. Can you see that, or do I need to share that?
We see the payment batch status. So if you're showing an actual remittance advice, we didn't see it.
Okay, so now you see the remittance advice that will go back out to the customer. And since we're just electing to print them, it doesn't have all the email information on it. Okay, and then the final step here, we've done that, is just going to be the same as if you had printed manual checks. And all you're going to need to do at this point is print your payment register. And I believe we have a slide of the payment register, which will show the difference between the ACH and the manually printed checks.
Great.
So sorry about that on the screens, but that hopefully you got an idea of the process itself.
Awesome.
And I did have a question that populated. I think this was toward the very beginning of your presentation, where you were entering in bank information. Somebody asked a question, is there a standard form or portal for security compliance with gathering this sensitive data and information?
Usually you work with your bank on that. The bank may have a form that you want to set out to your vendors. I've never really had issues with vendors not wanting to provide the information because it makes it a lot easier for them to get the funds that are due to them. So your bank may have one, but there really isn't a standard form.
Makes great sense to me. And that's the only question that we have at this break point. So I'm going to turn it back over to your team.
Great. Okay, great. Well, I'm going to take the control of the screen again here, and we'll go ahead and show the PowerPoint presentation. And let's go ahead and run it from the current slide. As Ann mentioned, this is a sample of the AP payment register. And you'll see that whether the payment was rejected or accepted, as noted, we produced this in preparation the other day. So you can see what Ann was referring to as far as rejection, and then again, acceptance here from the date and time of the user for which it was populated. So again, very clearly presented. You folks are all used to seeing a payment register with check numbers. As you move into the ACH world, you will see batch numbers, and again, all of the detail that was processed with the payment. Okay, so some concluding thoughts for the audience here. ACH is built for B2B transactions, and the important facet there is that there's really no credit limit. You know, I talked earlier about possibly paying invoices with credit cards and or maybe a line of credit. Again, provided you have the funds, obviously you can pay as much or as little as you want to using the ACH mechanism. So no credit limit applies to the transactions. Obviously, funding must be there. Your cash flow management. This is an important aspect. We all probably do it in our personal lives as well, but with the 2-day settlement, in some cases even 1-day settlement here, you have the ability to really manage your cash, especially if you're working off of a line of credit with your bank. Funds can be transacted. I don't want to say at the last minute, but let's just say just in time. And your vendors are being paid promptly. If you're taking discounts from which your vendor is offering them to you, again, it's another way for you to guarantee that you've qualified for that discount, because you know the transaction is going to settle in a day or two and not have to worry about US mail delivery or anything along those lines. Okay. Likelihood of failed payments. Again, the double check process that I defined earlier, that's all in place. Security is heightened. Fraud is mitigated. And really it boils down to, once you've gone through the testing process that Ann showed, and you've been approved, your accounts are validated, and the whole process knows that it's a legitimate transaction. So again, fraud being mitigated in all cases here. The procedure, Ann walked through it completely, but if depending upon what you're using in your fax installation, this can be a fully automated function for you, in that if you're doing automatic payment selection, and as she noted there in the presentation, if the customer is defaulting to ACH in the setup, then that's how the invoices are going to be processed. So you can really put this function in an automated process, and even the FTP to the bank can be scheduled. So very important side of things to cut down your administrative time. The vendors, your vendors, we have seen where they have created, because you're paying them via ACH, they've created you as a preferred customer. And in certain cases, maybe there's promotions, maybe there's even discounts on products that are available to you as a result of your preferred status. So the vendor has the same assurance that you have in your cash flow management, in that they're going to be paid in a electronic function, in a timely function, and they don't have to listen to checks in the mail any longer as far as maybe an excuse for non-payment. So vendors really appreciate the fact that you have this ability in your software, and the fact that it is a very secure banking relationship. And last but not least, think about the administrative time that especially in today's business environment that I described earlier, as to what it takes to process the checks. And again, reduced fees are part of the process here. The ACH process has shown to be normally very cost effective, and really the little bit of increase will be way offset by the administrative fees that you're going to reduce. So really, just an overall generality from the ROI here that's built into the ACH functions. Again, my contact information, Ann's contact information here. If you have questions, certainly feel free to reach out to us directly or to your channel partner. The beauty of implementing something like ACH is that it's there in the core software, has been introduced by Infor for quite some time, and as Ann said, can be implemented as quickly as a 2-week period. So it's really the back and forth with your banking institution and your vendors to collect the proper data. But once that's done, and once the testing is approved, you're full speed ahead in electronic payment functions. Okay, I'll turn it back to Gloria for wrap up and Q&A.
Well, Thank you very much, Gary. I wanted to let you know that we do have another question here, and you did touch briefly on security from the internal standpoint of your application, but this goes further. It says, along with implementing the software feature, are there other areas that require our attention, such as security, bandwidth, or any equipment upgrades?
Okay, yeah, sure. I'll take the simple one first. No to bandwidth, because as I spoke about earlier, there's a file transfer that's occurring, and that file transfer could be scheduled. So it's not like a web presence where you have interaction to and from. So this thing is just really a one-time push. Once the file is created, as Ann showed, bandwidth is not an issue. Certainly port protection, routers, security, keeping your routers up to date with various security levels that are published all the time. That makes a heck of a lot of sense. So, I would say the normal protocol that you're following, now that we're in the e-world, whether it's e-commerce or ACH here, maintain your equipment from a security perspective as advised by the manufacturer of that equipment. Take the security releases. There are managed programs as well. I know we at Aktion offer management programs for those devices, but keep that security up to date, and you'll reduce the ability for somebody to hack you.
It's kind of like keeping your technical house clean, isn't it, Gary?
Correct, Gloria. Absolutely. It's out there.
Well, that's the only question that we had populated. You guys did a great job. And what I would like to say is, it looks like we lost Ann there for a moment, but thank you to you and Ann for the great content today, and for everyone joining us as well. Watch for the next Facts Friday invitation that will be hitting your mailbox. That's a week from today. And also for anyone who is into TWL, that's present and online. Not sure if that applies to Facts or not, so bear with me because I'm still learning. Want to set your reminder for this afternoon for 2 p.m., where we're going to have Andy Weeth and Gord Krober going over everything in the ERS pipeline. TUG members, just a quick reminder, if you still have any additional questions, post them to the TUG members only forum on the Facts board for a quick response or to continue the ongoing dialogue. And for those of you who are not yet members, please visit www.theusergroup.org and join us. And as they say in Hollywood, folks, that's a wrap.
Thank you.